Morning, morning, morning. Hump day, happy hump day. So, I actually got asked this question, I think it was Monday, was basically, where did my kink originate from or something like that. And I was like, well, it's kind of hard to place. And I've had a few questions like this, like, where my kink came from. Have you always been kinky? And I said, well, there's plenty of people that will say, oh, I've always been kinky. And I'm like, well, okay, you were always aware that there was a kink called whatever it is that you wanted, but now you're sort of just discovering it. Hmm. My view on that is that you always know that you're somehow different from your peers or your parents or something like that, from what you've been able to observe. But you don't really know that you're kinky because even if you grew up in a kinky household, that for you was kind of normal sort of thing, and you can talk about it. But kink, by its very terms, is something different from normal. I mean, you can imagine a completely vanilla child growing up in a really kinky household, and they're going, just different from everybody else. I feel awkward. I mean, you can imagine a vanilla coming out saying, I'm vanilla to the kinky parents, and the parents going, oh no, what did we do wrong? How are they not kinky? Um, with regards to my kink for latex, I don't know. There's a lot of things you can look back on and say, okay, well, I can see there's some key elements there. That doesn't mean that you're actually kinky at that point because you didn't really have a, awareness of what kink really was and what your fetishes were and all that sort of stuff. As a kid, it's everything's really kind of simple. This feels good, therefore, I do it, and if it doesn't, then you don't do it. Um, I I guess it depends. I mean, I don't like how people will retrospectively apply things, um, in hindsight, because it really, I think to me, it would diminish your journey. Because I mean, if you knew you were kinky from way back then what do you have to learn now? Why do you need to explore now? Why are you doing all this? I mean, if you knew you were kinky, you should have done that from, day dot, like when you were 5 or 6 or whatever it is age that you think that you were kinky from. Um, I know that people say that, you're kinky, but are you active in the scene? As in going out into the community and whatnot. So we have active and non-active people. I, oh, cut myself. Um, I would say I I knew I was different from the outset. Was it specifically about latex and rubber? No, I came into that pretty late. Um, I remember looking at like some lingerie catalogs in sex shops and go, hey, that looks kind of shiny. I want a catalog of that, and flicking through catalogs of seeing shiny and leather, and I really liked the PVC kind of look. I didn't know that you could actually wear latex clothes at that time. And it's not till like much like decades later that I actively joined the kink scene and started to explore and met a few people who introduced me to rubber, and I was just like, ah, that's awesome. Will I say I immediately dived in and like, yeah, this is definitely my kink. This is what it's been all along. That explains everything. No, I will say no. Um, for me, it was kind of like oh, this is interesting. Wow. Hmm. Okay. I like this. Um, let's explore this a little more. Um, I think perhaps when you come into things, I mean, there's benefits and disadvantages of when you are going into kink young and when you're not. The advantage of coming into it a lot older is that you're a bit more aware of yourself, those around you. This is in general terms, not everybody's like this. your likes and dislikes established over quite a few decades between, like, you have a really good comparison with what, vanilla life is like and what kink life is like, and, you can put a foot in each camp and, maintain, um, a proper division if you want that. Um, the disadvantage of stuff being into it really early on is that you process things differently. Um, I guess for me, it's not just the feeling and sensation. I don't just get caught up in the feeling and sensation. And it is also a disadvantage as well coming to later on. You can tend to overanalyze a lot of stuff. Whereas when you're younger, you can just accept things. But then you don't, I believe you don't really have that experience of analyzing things to know when there's a boundary that you probably shouldn't cross, or where there's a boundary that could cause you a lot more damage later on. But having said that, can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs, so it's all a learning experience. Um, yeah, definitely, I would say later on in life, coming into the kink scene, I just found rubber. Earlier on, I knew I was different somehow. Um, just certain things appealed to me, certain stories that I was reading, all that sort of stuff, situations, scenarios that really had my brain going. Um, it's not always about the sex thing, but it really had my brain going, had me reading things over and over and over again. I mean, realistically, a lot of people don't even know what an orgasm is. Even when they have them, they just know that it's like, it's a pleasurable thing. And when you're a kid, you go, okay, that's the nice thing. I'll keep going with that until it reaches this sort of end bit where, that feels really good. So, who knows? The journey is different for everybody. I wouldn't get too caught up on, who did what and who's more kinky, who's been in kink the longest, and all that sort of stuff, because it's your own journey, it's your own life, and even though you might share that dynamic with other people, it's still you're still a different person. Life experiences, your thought processes, and context. Um, so, have I always been kinky? No. Have I always been different? Yes, I've always been a little different from the general norm, because everybody is different, but a little different in my likes from the general norm. And even now in my thoughts, because I've been in the lifestyle and lifestyling for quite a few years, my thoughts, even amongst some people in the kink community, are different. So if people say, have you always been? I said, well, no. I discovered it more around this. I became more aware of it, um, 7 or 8 years ago, and started to explore more that aspect of my life, which is different from saying, I'm just kinky, I'm just doing my thing behind closed doors. Because we all have done things behind closed doors, I think. Yeah, I did do some things with various boyfriends and all that, but um, not really that much further than the every now and again in the bedroom, just for a little bit of spice. But yeah, now living as I do and rubber as I do, it's pretty cool and awesome. I like it, and I like to keep doing it, but doing it in a way that doesn't make me complacent that it's there, you know. And as much as people like 24/7 living, um, the reality is you need to set up a whole lot of things to make that happen. And it's not all, whips and chains and submission. There is life maintenance and rules and everything, everything that can happen and will happen. So anyway, that's it. So there's a couple of questions down there that I'd like you to think about. I've completely forgotten what I was going to say about that. But yeah, think about that. Like, were you really kinky, or did you know that you were just different? When were you able to put labels to it? And how has that, kind of formulated how you've related to other people and established connections and relationships and dynamics and your lived and learned experiences to now? You know, don't ever, ever deny your history. It's what made you what you are. However, there's a difference between not denying it and letting it control your future and your life. Okay? So, there's that. Anyway, I'll catch you guys later. I've got to hop off and do my thing. Love you guys. Keep calm and stay kinky and shiny.